Hey, what's up, good people? This is Increase, your favorite place to get all of your news, get all kind of content. I am your host Al, and I just want to welcome you all to a very familiar, topic, but we'll get to that in a minute. Today just been packed with many different things. I've been working on stuff behind the scenes, working on stuff in my home. Just so much has been going on, and it's Friday, so everything wants to be done and need to be done on Friday. And the truth of the matter is that no matter what happens in life and no matter what you got going on, you want to make sure that you're prioritizing everything. And when you really get into your work and everything that you're doing, sometimes you get kind of caught up in what you're doing and you lose track of time. And so that's why it's always good to set alarms. So those of you who are like me and you get caught up in things that you're doing and lose track of time, that is the best way to do it to get over that is to set alarms. And so I appreciate you guys for your time. I know again today's Friday, so you're trying to wind down at your job, trying to get your lunch together, whatever the case may be, and that's cool. I just want to hit you guys with a little conversation. Last week on Increase, we talked about relationship environment, and I got a lot of good feedback from it. And I just wanted to not so much as piggyback off of it, but I want to really focus in on one specific thing. And that is within the relationship environment is self-control. One thing is for certain, we need to make sure that we are doing everything possible to handle our own selves. There's nothing like being in a relationship with somebody and the entirety of it, they're trying to control you and not themselves. Self control can be so powerful that you spend so much time, and I'm not going to say you spend the majority of your time, but you spend a great deal of time really working out your own kinks, really making sure that you're presenting your best self at every stage, every level of the game. You know what I mean? It's one thing to get into a situation and people don't know the direction where they want to go. It's something else when you're trying to navigate people who are grown. You know what I'm saying? Now, children, they're always going to need some kind of guidance or what have you, but you want to make sure that you are doing what is needed so that you guys can fulfill the goal, whatever the case may be, whether it's, business or your job, friendships, whatever. You want to make sure that you're doing your due diligence to show up at each and every point and every turn within the game. Um, Perfect example, perfect example of this, and I've seen this time and time again, is that you're having you're interacting with individuals and with people, and it's just not everything. It just isn't formulating. It ain't flowing like it needs to. Things are not happening like it need to, and so it gets frustrating, and so relationships end early because of frustration. And again, self control. When you can control yourself in the situation, you can control yourself within the business. You can control the things that are around you. Again, this is a relationship environment. So you can't control all of the variables within it. You can't control other people. You can't control what they do. There are going to be some times where you get blindsided. But in the midst of all of those things that's happening, you got to make sure that you're able to control the things that you can control. And one of those things that you need to make sure that you can control is how you react to the things that people do. I am a stickler for believing anything is possible by anybody. Anybody can do anything at any time. And I don't put nothing past anybody. Let me say that again. I don't put nothing past nobody. Anybody can do anything at any given moment. But here's the thing, I try to give people that space and that opportunity to do just those things. I can't control them. I can't dictate to them what they can and cannot do. because you're grown. And I'm dealing with a person who, if I have to micromanage you, if I have to hover over you, if I have to tend to everything, I might as well either do it myself or find somebody that I can trust in order for them to do it. And so we see a lot of times that we are engaged with people that we don't trust. We're engaged with people. We're around people. We're in business with people who you don't trust. You don't believe a word that they say. All of those different things. And my question to you is, why be in a relationship? Why be involved with them? Why connect yourself with them? Why exhaust your energy into that? Why with any of it? There's no need to. If I'm going to have that kind of anxiety, if I'm going to be that kind of nervous, if I'm going to deal with all of those things, I might as well just be by myself. I might as well do it myself or find somebody that I can trust, or believe in to do whatever the task is. Because again, time is the one thing that you can't get back. And so that is one of the things that wealthy people do. They buy their time back. So they invest in people to do tasks that would normally take time away from them or time away from their family or whatever. They pay them to do it. And so when you begin to understand it from that particular dynamic, you begin to go, wow, I really do. I really have wasted a lot of time, wasted a lot of energy. But also, I've been suckering myself into thinking that I can be better and greater by myself. It takes a team to do anything. One thing I want to share with you, my audience, is that in the midst of self-control, not only do you have the means and the ways to control how you react to people, but even what you think about them. I choose to try to find the good in every person. Any person that I encounter, I try to find the good in them, even if it's very hard to find. Not because I want to ignore the red flags or I want to um some way make them to be something that they're not, but at that moment of me looking for those things, I stopped being so nitpicky. I stopped looking to find fault. I stopped looking to um just be annoyed, or even offended. When you start really going, I'm going to control how I'm going to be offended. If I'm not going to take advice from this person, if they're not a person who, um like, if they leave my life, that I'm going to miss them, then why would I allow myself to be offended by them? Some things that we are offended by, some things that we have encountered in our life, is because we allowed ourselves to be overly emotional or invest in more of a certain kind of emotion longer than what we should have been. Yes, there have been some things happen in your life wherein is irreprehensible, whatever. It's really just egregious, right? They really have offended you, really hurt your feelings, really made you angry. My question is, how long are you going to be angry? Because the situation was maybe what, 10, 15 minutes, maybe an hour. We'll stretch it out, maybe an hour. Okay, hour. How long are you going to be mad? Because the longer that you're mad or the longer that you're offended, it's stopping you from doing other stuff. It's stopping you from creating new memories. It's part of the reason why the rest of your day is shot or sabotaged or sad or whatever, because we spent so much time investing in that one emotion. It's not saying that those things didn't happen. It's not saying that you're being dismissive of how you feel, but what it is saying, I don't want to invest more than what I need to in this situation. Because the longer I invest in that emotion, I'm literally going to take that emotion and I'm going to apply it to everybody else. And so you find yourself being like a casino card dealer. And everybody who comes to your table, you're going to dish the same set of cards to them. And you're going to find that they are coming into an environment that is not only toxic, but is very very dangerous because you really don't know how you're going to react next based upon what they're going to say, how you're treating them. So if I'm in a relationship with a person, friendship, business, whatever, and because I'm in that moment of being just super angry, if I'm not having self-control, exercising self-control, I'm now going to spill my anger on them and they've done nothing to me. I'm going to damage a relationship that had nothing to do with what I've just previously dealt with. And so I may need to take some time to process not my emotion, but process the situation. Sometimes we're more angry at ourselves because of how we reacted or how much we've invested within a person than actually being upset at the situation. It it's so good to see you. And so it's one of those things where you have to look at yourself and go, if I don't get a grip on myself, because I can't control another person, I can't control what they do, how they feel, what's going to come out of their mouths, all of that. If I don't get a grip on myself, I'm going to forever be led not by my emotion, but by anyone who knows my trigger points, by anybody who knows or who is observant of this kind of behavior, this kind of character. And so you'll find yourself living a life of less than because I don't want to take self-control over myself, over what I have going on. When you're looking at a relationship environment and you're setting the stage for your spouse, you're setting the stage for your children, you're setting the stage for your friends, for business partners, or whatever, you truly want to make sure that your engagement with them is that you're present, that whatever they're bringing to you, that what you were currently doing doesn't overshadow what they're bringing, especially if they're relationships that you truly value. You want to make sure that you are investing not just your time, but your mental capacity and your emotional space for that. And so that causes the environment around you to be conducive for great things to happen. Notice how musicians, like some will get there early and they're warming up, but they start playing around with different riffs, different chords, and things. And then as people begin to come in, they're like, "Yo, man, that was funky. What's going on in your mental space?" And you're like, "Well, I'm just working it out." But this chord just came to me. You just start playing it, and then they start adding to it. They control how they felt, and they use the music as a conduit of expression. Well, how would you do that in a marriage or in a relationship? Well, in a relationship, you may be a person that wants to cook or may like to cook, or you may be a cleaner, or whatever the case, or something to that effect. Something very much so productive, but also allows you that space to exercise energy. Remember, energy is the inner me in motion. It is me moving. It is a force that is forever flowing, right? So if these things are happening in your life, then you definitely want to put your hands to something, because if you sit in it and try to think it out and process it that way, and that may be something that you do, before long you'll find yourself having sat there an hour and there are things that you could have been doing. It's not going to stop you from being able to multitask by doing something else, but it's just a means and ways that you could possibly use that nervous energy or that anger energy towards some good use. So if you're in a relationship, your marriage or dating or whatever, find something that you can do that is productive, but also allows you to exert that energy as you're working. And as you're working it out or whatever, and your spouse comes over to your space or what have you, you're able to talk, but your tone should be a little bit different because now your hands or whatever is doing something else that if you're still frustrated about it, you could take it out on that and not verbally toward that person. Well, you may say, listen, I still may be wound up, bound, whatever, and I may verbally lash out because they're not understanding where I'm coming from. Well, in that space, you can always set the tone that, hey, I'm not feeling, or I'm in this space. Because remember, from Monday, communication is key, but what unlocks the door is understanding. If we can get understanding in the relationship, the communication can flow even that much better. And so as you begin to work these different tools that you have in your adult arsenal, your adult toolbox, you'll find yourself being able to not only share where you are mentally, where you are emotionally, also getting some work done, but also bridging and solidifying your relationships that you're in, or whatever relationship is presented at that time, whether it's your spouse or your children or whatever. Our children pay attention to things more than we'll ever know. And they take on and they pick up our various habits. And so, one thing that we begin to teach them is how to handle difficult situations. And if you are a person who is an understanding of your relationship environment, one of the key things that we can teach our children is self control. Being able to say, I'm angry, but I don't have to lash out and hit someone or hit something. I'm upset, but I don't have to curse someone out who have nothing to do with it. Or, or I don't have to throw things. There's always a flow, there's always a means of handling something that is different and still productive, because people are watching, not just listening to what you say, but they're watching what you're doing. And so, in the midst of all of those different things, you're setting that environment, you're setting your habitat that right now I'm frustrated, right now I'm sad, I'm whatever, but I can't relish there, because to stay there is to ruin what I'm working on and what I've been building. And myself, I'll speak for me. I love peace. Tranquility is number one, is paramount. It's paramount in my life. I need it. So I try to do things that reflect that, so that as time progresses and as people come into my space and I enter into new relationships, that tone is already set. And so they come in and they can respect the boundaries that I have established, because if they're there or they're not, that is what they're coming into. And when they leave, that is what they're exiting out of. And so a lot of our relationships suffer because we don't have self control. We tend to think, and we even teach our children this, whatever comes to their mind can come out of their mouths, that, whatsoever thing that they feel, they could just lash out and throw and yell and whatever. And the truth of the matter is, that's furthest from the case. We want to produce children who truly understand where they are mentally and emotionally, but be able to express themselves in a manner that will not cause harm or even potential dangers to anyone else. We want to teach them how to build healthy relationships, both friendship, both romantic, and business. Whether they own their own business or they're working a 9 to 5. These are the key things. These are paramount skills that are needed. More people today need to exercise self control. They tend to just run on a whim. Everything is about them. This is why we have so many selfish relationships, because people are just selfish. Everything has to be when they want it done, how they want it done, and forget about anybody else. They'll listen to you or say that they're listening to things that you request, but they're not exercising or executing the things that the other person says that they need. So it doesn't matter that they know your love language, or it doesn't matter that they you've told them and shown them your boundaries. When there are habitual line crossers, that there are people who will not respect that. And that is so frustrating. But here's again, you only need to deal with that but for so long. And sometimes you just have to terminate the relationship, because there's more on the line continuously dealing with that kind of stuff than actually letting it go and leaving space for someone else. I think that a lot of times we really don't put a lot of effort into our relationships, and so we're quick to let people go. But when you have literally taken your time and to explain your boundaries, explain to people, your expectation, but also hear theirs, and you're meeting what they have required, but they continually refuse to acknowledge yours and to execute what it is that you're asking. We see it all over the world. We see it all in many other relationships, wherein when those things are not reciprocated, then they terminate it, and they let that space be open for someone else who is willing and ready to do those things and to receive what they need in return being done. You see it on your job, you see it in businesses, we see it in other people's relationships, and you wonder and you go, why are they so happy, and the people around them are so, just positive, and they're able to just maneuver in many things. It's because they understand each other, and everyone has their self-control. They know their boundaries, they know their limits, but they also know themselves. It's like being around a person who's drinking and they don't know when to stop. They just got to keep going because everybody else is drinking. But those who are wise, they know when their limit is. They're like, all right, I've had my 2 drinks. I'm good. I don't want no more. Or a person who overeats, people who over talk, they don't allow other people to speak. It's so many different variations and ways that you can look at it. But it's all in that relationship environment. My question to you, you don't have to answer it, but you can write it in the comment section later, or write in the comment section. You know, how are you establishing your relationship environment? How are you establishing it? How's it going? How's the health of your relationships really are right now? It's Friday. I know I asked this question on Monday. Today's Friday. How are things going? This is like a check-in, a relationship check-in, if you will. How are your relationships? What are they looking like? Are they starting to gain health and traction, or are they still on rocky surface? Are you still a little shaky? You're a little worried that things are not going to survive whatever it is. Because the truth of the matter is that you're not in a relationship by yourself. You're in a relationship with people. And you want to make sure that you are healthy, the relationship is healthy, but the other person is too. There's nothing like when you can be around people and they checking on you and you're checking on them. When you call you or meet each other, that everything is on a mutual level. No one is feeling like or treating each other a different one like one is better than the other. Everybody's together. We're working on the same goals, or we're living our best lives to the best of our ability. And because of that, everyone has so many different stories, and you're so busy trying to catch each other up on the latest and the greatest things that's happening, or even some of the pitfalls and the sadness that has transpired in your life. Absolutely, that's great. That is great. I'm telling you, when you really and truly begin to look at those things, look at your life, look at your relationships, it's really, your relationships are a reflection of yourself. Not just in what you tolerate, but what you're interested in. What you're truly interested in, what you truly are investing your time and your mental space, your resources, your peace, all of that stuff is truly, positively a part of that relationship environment. And when you begin to do your spring cleaning of your relationships, I say spring, it can happen at any time. But when you really start doing those things, you really begin to go, wow, man, I really had to let some things go. Because, where I started is not where I want to be right now. And so you have to let some things go. You have to let some things, not so much as of a person, but of yourself. I'm no longer that hurt person. I'm no longer that abused person. I'm no longer that sad person. I'm no longer that, whatever. Allow yourself the space to grow and allow your relationships the space to grow. Allow your environment to be moldable and shapeable that, as things happen, it's not that you like so much you grow apart or you mature, but it's like, okay, it's time. It's like Rafiki said in The Lion King, it is time. It's just time to part ways, or it may be time to even draw closer together. It may be time to take things to the next level. It may be even in your self-control, right? You really start thinking about that. Like, okay, I can control I'm able to control my temper. I'm able to control my movements. Let's take self-control to the next level. What am I allowing in my spirit? So people will say, well, start by what you watch, what you listen to, right? I'm not gonna listen to the crazy music. I'm gonna try to listen to some positive, upbeat, R&B or some classical or gospel, jazz, some pop music. Maybe help me to, get some rhythm, some dancing or whatever. But what about the things that you create that you allow to be in your spirit? The doubt, the worry, the secret desire to go back to the way you used to be, the homesickness, not for where you moved from physically, but the space of desiring to go back to old friendships, old relationships, or act that way again. And instead of checking it, you just kind of let it fester. That next level of bitterness, wherein your resentfulness and your desire to be petty has gone covert, and you're being petty, you're holding a little bit of resentment, but everybody else don't know that. So when they hear you talk and they laugh at your jokes or they hear your comment, they like, they kind of feel like something is going on, but it's not enough to really raise an eyebrow. You know what I'm saying? So taking your self-control to an even greater level into those realms, into that atmosphere, wherein there are things that's happening behind the scenes that even the people closest to you really don't know, but you know. And so you're like, I need to take care of that. I need to handle that. I need to get a grip on that. I really, you know what I'm saying? Like, I get it. They don't know what's going on behind it for real, but I do. And I know I'm better than that. I need to check that. You know what I'm saying? It's not, something happened to me. It's not whatever, but it's those little small nuances. It's those little things that everybody else don't know anything about. So those are the things I need to check. That's the level. That's what I mean when I'm talking about self control, going to the next level. And then in self control, it's something that is not just a one time thing, or it's something that you may hear a lawnmower or something in the background, but it's something that is continuous. You're always keeping yourself on a check, but also you have some accountability partners, friendships, whatever, people who can say to you, "Hey, man, you haven't mentioned this in a while, but I just want to check in with you." on this level, on this degree, on some topics that you and I spoke about, but I just want to check in on you and you check in on them. Yo, I just want to make sure everything's good. Because just like you go to the doctor and you get checked out routinely, you get a physical, you make sure your blood levels are good, you making sure, um, everything is on the up and up or whatever with your body. The same way you need to be also mentally and even spiritually. And so you gotta begin to do those periodic checks, because before long, pride will sneak in, arrogance, selfishness, greed, all of those different things. They come in and they're very subtle. They're very quiet. They incrementally they begin to come in, and if you're not careful, you'll start corrupting other people, or they'll start corrupting you, because nobody's doing their checks and balance. Nobody's checking in on each other on that level, right? So you'll, instead of you having self-control, or what you think you'll have as self-control, is really controlling you. And so in your relationships, when you don't have that control and other people can't tell you, then it lets us know what kind of relationships you have. And then you got an issue. And instead of waiting till you got a big tree to try to move, deal with those things when they're small. Deal with your insecurities when it's young, and you know, find out your whys, find out your triggers, begin to learn yourself even the more, even in your marriage, even in your marriages, and even in your business. Check on those things. Begin to find out your movements and what your partner feels about you, or what they see that's going on around you. Because they can tell you some things that you may think is normal, or you may not even recognize it, but they're like, okay, I'm starting to see you kind of slacking off. I'm starting to see that, you're starting to slow down. I'm starting to see that you're kind of acting like you're discouraged. I didn't want to say anything, but I just want to see what's going on. I'm glad that you opened that space up for me to come to you and approach you about those things. This is the time to do those things, not because we're getting close to Thanksgiving and Christmas, but as you get older and as you begin to learn and begin to want better things, these are some of the things that you just simply just need to do. Somebody say it's important to know yourself first so you can learn your partner. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's funny that you mentioned that, because there were things that I thought and there were things that I know about myself, and then my partner brought some insight even into that, like even into the things that I know, and there were things that I was like, oh, I got a grip on that, I got self control over that, and then you come to find out that though you have control, your grip seems to get loose at certain times. We have those friendships where some people in our life, it's really hard to tell them no. And it's not like they pulled the friendship card and be like, yo, I was there for you. I made, when you didn't have nowhere to sleep, you slept on my couch, or when you were hungry, I fed you. It's just because you have been through so much, it gets hard to tell them no. Or it gets hard to tell them I can't. Right? And it's like, I need to, because if I do it, it's gonna put me in a bind. But that's where you gotta have that communication. And like I said earlier, you gotta have that understanding. And if everybody in the camp is doing their part, and things are moving, and again, this is not saying a perfect world, we're all gonna, make mistakes and different things like that, but you have to give yourself that space to grow and to mature. And you have to give the relationship the opportunity to have some falling outs and some coming back togethers. Right. You got to learn to separate. Absolutely. And so, like Darius was saying, earlier, he said he's learning, what to hold on to and what to let go of. Like there are times where, all of those, it's forever learning. And sometimes you get frustrated, not just with other people, you get frustrated with yourself because you're so busy wanting to improve and to do all of those things that when you slip or things happen and it don't happen the way that you want it, it gets very frustrating. So you really gotta take your time with it, and you really gotta build those healthy habits so that as you are moving, everything is happening like it's supposed to, and you building those healthy habits. And yeah, you guys know my fallback. And so even though I wasn't in the military, I'm surrounded by people who were, and they one thing they always tell you is that you fall back on your training. What did the training say? What When this comes up, what does the training say to do? And so we don't realize how much of a default we have within ourselves in our relationships. And so when things go awry, we fall back to whatever. And so, but if you haven't, you got to start training yourself to be better and building those habits. So when something happens, you don't fall back to the old you. You fall back to the you that was training, that was getting yourself together, that built those healthy habits, so that when things happen, you fall on that and you're able to keep moving, keep things flowing. And it may bother you for a moment, but you don't invest all of your time, all of your energy into that one thing. So that's pretty much the name of the game, is that you begin to understand, like, yo, this is something that I want to do. This is my thing, right? I want to have not only a healthy relationship environment, but I also in that environment, I want to have self-control, control of me, control over the things that I do, and that I'm not being led by my emotion or by the situation, but I'm truly, moving forward as a unit with the people that is with me to the end. That's with me till whatever. That's with me to fulfill the destiny, to get to my destination, help them get to their destination. So I want to ask you this, as I bring this podcast to an end, and that is, are you willing to invest the necessary time and emotion into having a healthy relationship environment? Yo, that's powerful by itself. Having a healthy relationship environment, but you also having self control within that environment. I hope you guys have an amazing weekend. Don't do too much partying. Make sure that in the midst of you partying, that when you're not partying, that you're planning your next step. Make your next move your best move, because your next move is the move that we're going to see its full works in the next 5 years. And I want you to look back and say, I'm glad I made that choice, that decision, to keep pushing, to keep being a go-getter, to keep being everything that even I didn't think I was capable of. So you guys, again, have an amazing weekend. Share this with somebody. This is on YouTube as well as Facebook Live, and it's on my Instagram as an Instagram Live. So again, thank you guys so much. You guys have an amazing, wonderful, wonderful weekend. I'll see you on Monday right here on Increase.